Alright, welcome back to Cheaper Pop Culture, the show that also managed to invade the comic book channel, but unlike honest promos, no one really asked for that to happen. I'm your host, but not the idea generator for this episode, because today's Cheaper Pop Culture topic was suggested by Sean Bateman of the Dark Crescent Moon Cafe podcast, which you can find over on SoundCloud. Thanks for the idea. Now, speaking of which, what is the topic for today's episode? Well, today, it's all about the game. The WWE board games, if you will. Because if you want something that is cheap and easy to produce, and yet still somehow manages to sell in a world that has video games, sports, and competitive eating as viable alternative activities that a person can do, well, board games just might be the thing for you. Because it definitely is for the WWE. Now, I'll admit I've never been much of a board game kind of guy, and I know from the fact that I have both a wrestling channel and a comic book channel, and that I'm friends with Elmer, you would naturally assume that board games, particularly Dungeons & Dragons, would be something that's right up my alley. But nope, the closest to D&D I've ever gotten was playing it in the video game Life is Strange Before the Storm, and those 2 episodes of Community. And yes, I will distance myself from tabletop games while also proudly admitting to playing Life is Strange. Got a problem with that? Well, come at me, bro, with your 32-sided dice and your character sheet, and, you know, you better roll real high. Alright, first up we have the Gateway board game for kids, which will also serve as our lead into the entry for this episode. WWE Guess Who? Ooh, I wanna play! Are you a burying douchebag? Yes. Do you have a gigantic nose? Yup. Are you Triple H? You got it! Honestly, this game would probably be way more fun for me if everyone featured in it was just a wrestler that I hated. Are you a complete idiot that has no business in booking? Yes. Are you Vince Russo? No, Kevin Sullivan, but good guess. Next is what seems to be a solid chunk of WWE-themed board games, activities that could only be described as a country western matchup of both Monday Night Raw and Yu-Gi-Oh! Think of this as an Amish-style version of WWE Supercard. This includes games like WWE Superstar Showdown and WWE Undisputed. Now, the long of the short in it is you select your wrestler to play as. In Showdown, you could choose between John Cena, Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, The Big Show, and Big E. In the game, you get to pick your little one-color action figure to play as your game piece. Now, I don't know if the lack of color was done for racial sensitivity issues or because they knew that if you bought this game, there's probably a very high chance that you also own some modeling paint. Now, in the game Undisputed, on the other hand, you get an even odder mix of wrestlers to choose from, as you can pick either Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker, Kurt Angle, or Triple H. In games like these, the overall point is that for some reason or another, you and the family members or friends that you have no doubt alienated by sucking them into playing this with you will have to pit their superstars versus yours in order to do battle with each other via cards? Now, this system tends to be convoluted enough that it makes you wonder, why would anyone want cards and wrestling to come together so badly? It's like they found out that some wrestling fans also play cards, so they figured by making a love child of the two, they would get, you know, all the monies? They're wrong. But speaking of which, Uno. Nope, I'm not just showing off my bilingual skills. Well, I'm not only showing off my bilingual skills, but I'm also talking about the card game Uno. And yes, there is a WWE version of this card game. But allegedly, what makes this Uno unique is that there is a special card that does something that you normally wouldn't find in a standard deck of Uno cards. What does it do? I really didn't care enough to find out, so there's that. And continuing on the pattern of what classic childhood games would look like if Vince McMahon threw up on them, there's WWE Monopoly. It's always fascinated me when some fixtures of Americana decide that it's going to take over everything on the shelf in the store by replicating itself over and over again with slight variations. I mean, just look at Oreo, right? Now, as far as I'm concerned, Oreo is just one flavor. It's a taste unto itself. Oreos are supposed to be Hydrox flavor, and that's it. But now Oreos are self-identifying as everything from mint to peanut butter to vanilla. Actually, those are pretty good. Now that I think about it. Anyway, not the point. The point is, a while back, they were pulling this same exact bullshit with the game of Monopoly. They pumped out more and more versions of Monopoly than should ever exist for a game that nobody wants to play until the very end. So of course, WWE just had to jump on that trend and please their PG meter faster than they switched the FU to the AA. And finally, we have the WWE DVD board game. Well, what is there to say about these types of games that community hasn't said already? The rules to trying to interact with a video like they were really in the same room as you is just plain stupid. I mean, wouldn't you agree? You see, I have no idea what you just said, or even if you answered, which you probably shouldn't have. Anyway, the rules are simple. You are trying to become the general manager of the WWE. In order to do that with a DVD, you need to win championships, and then manage salaries, wins and losses for wrestlers like Batista and John Cena, and wait a minute, how does monopolizing championships give you the ability to be in charge of other wrestlers? You know what, I'm beginning to wonder if this is a WWE DVD game or if this is actually just Triple H's biopic. Alright, that's gonna do it for this one. You know, I took a lot of shots at Triple H in this episode about board games. I guess that makes sense. You know, don't hate the player, hate the game. Alright, forget it, you get the point. Bye.